Giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahawashi, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone, as well as the men that taught them, and peace and blessings unto the 144,000, as well as the rest of the elect. This is Brother Jehosaphat here with another lesson, and today we're going to continue on with the Iranian situation, okay? And we're going to pick it up here, Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8. And it says, therefore wait ye upon me, said Yahweh, Bahasham Yahawashi, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation. All right? Even all my fierce anger. All right, so when you talk about indignation, that's right. That's the Most High's fierce anger and wrath. All right, justifiable, righteous wrath. It says, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right, what is this jealousy all about? You know, you hear people talking stupid in the world. How can the Lord be jealous? If that's God, how can God be jealous? Because just the same way if you created something and your creation ran off and gave somebody else the glory, praise, and credit. All right? Just like you get with a woman, because we are the Lord's woman now. All right? But the same way you get with a woman, you know, and let's say she don't even have to be having sex with nobody else. But she always talking about so-and-so got this, and oh, he doing that and got this going on, and, you know, you ain't like such and such is this and that and the third. And eventually you're going to get tired of that shit. You know? But here as a nation, you know, we've been getting done dirty. Well, I mean, we brought it upon ourselves. All right? We busted wide open for all the... As a nation, we busted wide open for Baal, for Dagon, for Astaroth, all right, which her day is coming up next month. I believe it was, you know, Easter is March this year. I hadn't looked, all right. But Easter is Astaroth Day. Who else? All these pagan deities and gods, all right. And yes, we was not created for that. And the Most High got jealous. It ain't, you know. This will explain. All right, this is Joel, chapter 3, verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. All right? Judah and Jerusalem, all right? All the 12 tribes of Israel, all right? And in that sense, because Jerusalem is a people before it's a place, but even our land is in captivity. All right, the Most High got to free our land too. Get them goddamn gutter rats out of our land. All right, so we gonna be liberated from the heathen, and our land will be disposed of the vermin that's currently occupying our land. All right. Now check this out, verse 2. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehosaphat. It says, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel. So this is where the jealousy is coming from. The Most High said, I will plead with them there for his people. He said, my people, and for my heritage, Israel. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which was monikers put on you by our captors and our oppressors, the Edomites. You know, we know Isaiah 25:7 tells us that this man has put a covering over all the nations. No one knows their true biblical nationality these days. As a whole, all right, as a whole, But it says, right, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. All right. So they took us into captivity, and then they parted our land, as the scriptures say. And now they still fighting over that land. Verse 3 says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. So this is going into the slave trade, all right? Which was a measure of correction for us in a learning process, all right? We wasn't brought over here to America in the Babylon, all right? This is modern day Babylon. We wasn't brought over here because, the Lord just despised us and hate our guts. He brought us here to reform us, all right? And now that the Holy Spirit has been given and is prevalent in the earth, all right, we can get this perfection in the spirit, all right? We can be finished, completed now in the spirit. But that was it right there. I'm going to play the rest of this video, because war with Iran is an inevitability. Did I say that right? Inevitability. Yes. So it's going to happen, all right? War with Iran is what's going to cause them to come down to the valley of Jehosaphat, all right? Which is, you would say in the Hebrew, Jehosaphat, all right? Jehosaphat is the English transliteration of the Paleo-Hebrew word or name, Jehosaphat, all right? Now, y'all say Jehosaphat, but it's Jehosaphat. Yahweh is the Heavenly Father. That's His holy name. Yah, He, Hawa, to be. All right? Shaphat means judgment. All right? And it's even in the outline of biblical usage. You know what? Yeah, let's go right here. We're going to come back, all right? We're going to pick up at verse 9. I'm going to play the video, all right? And we're just going to go from the beginning, and then we're going to come back into Joel 3.
Millions of Americans and millions of people all over the world could be impacted as a result of the United States and Iran having a conversation tomorrow. I'm going to break down what this conversation is supposed to be about, but the concern is that the United States does not believe what Iran is telling it. As a result, the U.S. could strike Iran's nuclear facilities. Just look at this, because again, right now, this is extremely concerning.
The U.S. military is preparing for potential operations with Iran if President Trump orders an attack. Iran's top diplomat has arrived in Geneva ahead of what's being described as indirect talks with the U.S. tomorrow.
Yeah, so there will be some talks with the United States indirectly, but there will be talks. Now, this is a very important time. What we are hearing is that President Trump is almost dead set on striking Iran. The reason for it is because he does not believe that Iran is going to negotiate fairly. He doesn't believe that Iran should have any nuclear capabilities, but Iran says, well, that's somewhat off the table because we've done exactly what you want us to do for years. Now, we want to make sure we can fight for ourselves. But listen to this right here, because again, this is just the start. And according to experts, they say oil prices are about to shoot up and the security risks across the world, but also directly with the United States, that means cyber and also direct threats on U.S. soil. Those are actually increasing. Listen to this right here.
And these are everything that the prophets at Great Millstone have been prophesying, all right? Cyber attacks, EMP attacks, grid shutdowns or failures, all of this, which will lead to more chaos on top of what the chaos that already exists right now, all right? Will add to even more uncertainty to the dire situation that's here in America. These things are coming. On what scale? I don't know, but you more likely you're going to see them. All right.
Did you know that you can have permanent teeth in just 24 hours? That's right. Only 24 hours and your new smile is ready.
The Trump administration has said diplomacy is their preferred option, an approach Iran has indicated they favor too, but there are major gaps between the two sides, particularly on the issue of uranium enrichment. The president saying on Friday Tehran can have no enrichment. The regime, though, has rejected U.S. demands to end that program entirely. Still, Iran's deputy foreign minister tells the BBC they are willing to make some nuclear compromises if the U.S. is willing to talk about lifting sanctions. President Trump has stressed the importance of making a deal, but last week he also did not reject the idea of regime change in the country. In the meantime, he's sending more firepower in the region, directing the USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, from the Caribbean to the Middle East. If the U.S. takes action against Iran, Reuters reports it might not look like Operation Midnight Hammer in June, an essentially one-off attack on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Reuters says per 2 U.S. officials, the U.S. military is preparing for the possibility of sustained weeks-long operations against Iran if President Donald Trump orders an attack in what could become a far more serious conflict than previously seen between the two countries.
Okay, so here's the concern. We are likely going to see a few different things, okay? And I want to read some to you. So first off, the concern right now is that Iran is threatening to limit the ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Strait of Hormuz is a very important body of water that is responsible for between 20 and 30% of the world's crude oil getting shipped through there every single day. 20 to 30%. Now you're probably thinking, that's not a big deal because the United States, well, we can produce our own oil. We can also get it from other countries, Venezuela included. But that is going to send a shockwave through the entire oil industry, the entire energy industry. That means everything is going to become more expensive. But here's the other thing. Over the next 24 to probably 72 hours, over the next 3 days, this is what we need to watch for. Is there any potential hint at tanker disruptions? If there are, this is going to send a shockwave through the entire industry. Okay? This means either a seizure of a boat, okay, of a tanker, or putting any type of mine in the water, where that actually causes these ships to go and take other routes, which would take it longer, which means it's more expensive. That's a huge issue. The other one, any type of disruption or closing of the Strait of Hormuz, that would be catastrophic, okay? But I want to play you another clip. Listen to this one right here, okay? This is retired General Jack Keane. Listen to what he has to say. Listen to this, because again, it's very important that you understand what's happening, because even though the United States might not strike Iran, the concern is there, and Iran could retaliate at a moment's notice. Listen to this.
Would Israeli actions on Iran hinder Tehran from making a nuclear deal with the United States?
At all by Israel or by the United States until these negotiations get an answer, positive or negative. I think where the negotiations are likely headed, if we're not going to talk about ballistic missiles or support for Iran supporting its proxies, it's likely not going to be a good deal. I mean, the president walked away from the nuclear deal because he knew the conditions in the deal were completely unacceptable. And this was back in 2018. a deal that Obama had put together and spent a year on, but it guaranteed Iran having a nuclear weapon in 2030 with all restrictions removed, the absurdity of all of that. And right now, Iran doesn't have a capability to build a nuclear weapon. Why is that? Because President Trump took that capability away from him back in June. So, I mean, a nuclear deal, I get it for the future in terms of no enrichment makes some sense. But the real meat and potatoes of the deal should be restriction on the range and the quantity of ballistic missiles, and certainly that's what Israel is very interested in, because they're quite vulnerable to some of that attack, as we've seen back in June.
So it's just picking on Iran. They keep saying Iran don't need a missile or, you know, enriched uranium. I never hear why. You know, they say, oh, they fund terrorists. You know, they throw that out there. They fund terrorists in the region, yeah, for the U.S. Gaddafi worked with the U.S. Saddam Hussein worked with the U.S. And then whenever they get ready, they just demonize you, and then they get rid of you and come in and destroy your country, just like we see in Iraq, just like we see in Libya, all right? And what you getting ready to see in Iran, except it won't run its course, because once they start this campaign, it's going to get away from them in the form of they will not be able to control this one, as they have infamously controlled the wars of the past, all right, by funding both sides, all right. Yahweh and the heavenly host is not funded by these devils. And they coming for blood. And that's what I just read. All right? The Lord wants blood. His determination is to pour out his indignation and his fierce anger on these goddamn heathens. All right? Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. All right? Right. This is proclaim war. This third world war. Okay? You hear me say third world war? That's what I'm talking about. All right? WW3. All right? WW Trey. This is what you see. All right, what the man was talking about in the video was a Cold War. All right, Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. putting these sanctions, and they both, you know, trying to get at each other these little ways, you know, doing little shit here and there. That's the Cold War. But it's going to escalate for prophecy's sake. It's got to escalate. There will be no working this out. There will be no sitting down to the table, drawing out a plan, and coming to an agreement. The agreement that's going to be agreed upon is the third world war. And all going to agree to that. That will be the agreement. Let's go to war, goddammit. That's why it says, Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, not among us, among you Gentiles. Prepare war. And that is exactly what is being prepared, is war. All right? Wake up the mighty men. Wake up the soldiers. All right? The champions of war. All right? You see, the U.S. then got a Department of War. Is that right? Yeah, the Department of War. All right, that's a fulfillment of Joel 3:9. Prepare war. All right, we got a whole department. Let's call this, to hell with the Department of Justice. Let's call it the Department of War. All right, to fulfill prophecy. And it ain't just America, it's all of the Gentiles. It said, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right? Make that your proclamation. I am strong. All right? That's the Most High hyping them up to come against America. Big bad ass America. All right? So by saying beat your plowshares into swords, all right, a plowshare is an instrument of agriculture, right? And your pruning hooks into spears, all right? So is a pruning hook, all right? These are instruments of agriculture, all right? For cultivating the land and producing. But yeah, there's no need for producing in a time of war. The prophecies say prepare war. Yeah, so budgets are being diverted into defense, all right, whether it be an agricultural budget, all right. They're moving certain percentages of their, other budgets into defense in preparation for this third woe. All right, to get weapons made, making missiles. And this here is just this ploy against Iran is to make sure that they're completely defenseless and weak, because the U.S. is going into Iran, or will strike Iran, all right? They already have, but it's going to escalate, all right? Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. All right? The mighty ones are those missiles. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehosaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So this is an act of judgment. All right. The first two world wars was to set Esau up for this, for the third woe, but to get him in that, position him for this new world order that they're openly speaking about now. All right. They're just coming out proclaiming and professing it. All right. This one world order, this new one world order. They're just coming out with it now. All right? So that was the first two. Was to position Esau and America, especially the Second World War, was to prop America up and set up this cash cow, all right, to deceive and pervert the world through its wine, all right? Jeremiah 51. Also in the book of Revelation. But that wine is the doctrines and philosophies that come out of this place, because the whole world after World War II marveled and wondered after this place. And that's partly due to the Bretton Woods Conference, giving America the giving the American dollar world reserve status, or world reserve currency status. All right, so meaning all the world had to use this dollar, all right, which that in itself made America extremely powerful. As if you the country that holds the world reserve currency, and with America being corrupt, they made all kind of money. They made, certain individuals got rich. Okay? But right, they're all going into the valley of Jehosaphat. And when you look up that word, Jehosaphat, which is Strong's number 3092, I missed it. Okay. Jehosaphat. That's it right there. Jehosaphat. And so that you see in the root word etymology, you see Yahweh, Strong's number H3068, that's Yah-ha-wah. And you see Strong's number 8199, that's Shaphat, which is judgment. And what does it say? Yahweh, not Jehovah. Jehovah is another English transliteration of the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh. There is no J in the Hebrew, nor V. The V is the Wah. All right? The Wah. Right, Yahweh has judged. And that's basically it in a nutshell. And then it says down at the bottom, symbolic name of a valley near Jerusalem, which is the place of ultimate judgment for the heathen, as we read, all right? Our judgment is accomplished as you read Lamentations 4 and 21, 22, mainly 21 and 22, it tells you that the punishment of our iniquity is accomplished. The iniquity of the children of Israel. Our punishment, I'm loosely paraphrasing, but our punishment is accomplished. All right? And the punishment of the heathen, now it's their turn. And that's what this third woe is, as we read out of Ezekiel 38 Tuesday. All right? It said to, well, the Heavenly Father said, I am against thee, O Gog and Magog. All right? And that's talking about the Russians. Well, the Russians are Edomites, so-called white people as well. All right? They're going to catch the brunt of this judgment. All right? Because they run the world. To whom much is given, much is required. And when the ass whoopings get handed out, yeah, they're going to get the most of the ass whooping. But all the heathen gonna get it. All right? And so that's that. Check this out, verse 13. Well, let's read 12 again. All right? This is Joel chapter 3, verse 12. Let the heathen be wakened. All right? The heathen. And come up to the valley of Jehosaphat, which is in the Levant, the Middle East, around Iraq, you know, between Jerusalem and Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, all of that area is going down. All right? For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down. For the press is full, the fats overflow. For their wickedness is great. And this is talking about judgment. Putting in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, is talking about the harvesting of souls, all right? People being put to death. Get you down, for the press is full, right? The press of the wicked. It said the fats overflow. Look, for their wickedness is great, right? The wickedness of the wicked. What does it say, verse 14? Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. That's what Jehosaphat means, the valley of decision or judgment. A judgment is a decision. All right, they're interchangeable. You can put judgment in there or you can say decision. It says, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And that's basically the point, all right? And I'm going to end that one right there. I did have another video, but I don't have time to get into it. But it's saying that, yeah, war with Iran is inevitable. You hear in this video, they saying stuff like might and if and maybe. No, it's an inevitability, all right? It's exactly what it is, an inevitability. Look at that.
Hey guys, is your tire pressure light stuck on even
We're
when
gonna
your
go out
tires
on
are
this.
fine? I had the same headache until I found.
But in this case, the
Yeah,
Iranian
check out this.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's your host, Danny. Hi, Fawn. Be sure to hit that like button before you, as you come on. It's good to be back with you all. As you can see, I am joined by Sharmeen Narwani. She's a columnist. Are you an editor, Sharmeen, of the Cradle?
Yeah.
So editor and columnist at The Cradle. Great resource on all things West Asia.
So you see the title here, right? Iran closes Strait of Hormuz. Trump deploys F-35s. War inevitable. All right. And this is Sharmeen Narwani. I'll put the link in the description box so y'all can check it out. I'll play a little bit.
Geopolitics and developments in the region. Sharmeen, good to see you.
It's really good to be here.
Yes, again, everyone hit the like button. That helps boost the show as we get started. So, Sharmeen, we have to talk about. So, in the last several days, we've seen Iran conduct naval drills in the Strait of Hormuz. Russia and China are now going to get involved. The latest report, though, is that there is now days to weeks for when the Trump administration is going to launch an apparent strike. There's been a massive buildup in the region. There's been, and I'm just going to pull it up here, there's been an Axios report. Now, it is from an Israeli source, okay? It's from Barak Ravid over at Axios. Says Trump moves close to a major war with Iran, according to sources inside of the administration and Israeli sources. We are seeing that the Trump administration could begin very soon. And so right now, that is the news. There's been massive buildup here, by the way. There's been massive numbers of military cargo flights moving ammunition to the Middle East. There's also been F-35s, F-22s, F-16s, so many fighter jets and the U.S., of course, destroyers and whatnot going to the region. So, Sharmeen, what is your assessment of this situation now that we are, getting closer to war?
I think we have to kind of also look beyond just the U.S.-Iran dimension. Why is this happening now? For no apparent reason, right? I mean, there's nothing that triggered the U.S. talking about war with Iran. And I think the larger picture is the transformation of the global order away from, law, right? Sort of like how Trumpian politics have impacted Europe. Even Europe is waking up, realizing that they're disposable for the U.S. unless they, are able to change their ways and provide some backup for Trump's wars. I mean, this particular administration, right? And then, of course, as conflicts have broken out in all regions, pretty much, right? You have, this the likelihood of confrontation between the Americans or the Western Hemisphere and the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians, becomes more obvious. And, for me, I've always thought of the three main stated U.S. adversary states, Russia, China, Iran, that certainly this U.S. administration and probably previous ones as well have viewed Iran as the low-hanging fruit. This troika of countries is working increasingly closely together. I mean, you just mentioned that they're launching military drills in the regional waterways right now. And a lot of this, by the way, is not just a signal against Trump launching a war against Iran, but also the Russians have laid down some new lines about maritime piracy and the taking of so-called sanctioned vessels, etc. India stopped three supposedly linked to Iran sanctioned vessels just in the last few days. That's insane. That's not even the U.S. doing it, right? But pushing its allies to do this kind of thing. So these drills are important, but, Russia and China will lose some vital strategic depth in West Asia. if Iran falls in any significant way. They're very mobilized, in my view. I mean, you're not going to hear from the Russians and Chinese or the Iranians what, level of military cooperation is going on behind the scenes, but it's very clear to me that there is a lot. There is new technology. And
so you heard it, all right. I'm gonna post it because it got some good stuff in there. But drills are being carried out in preparation, as I read, proclaim ye this among the heathen, prepare war. All right. So they're running drills, as well as, all right, putting equipment in place, all right, military equipment and machinery in place. The F-35s and other, the Gerald Ford, the largest aircraft carrier, has been sent to that region, all in preparation of war. So things are escalating. They're not doing these drills and putting all of this equipment and things in place, all right, just because they ain't got nothing better to do. They're doing it because World War III is an inevitability, all right? It's just a matter of when, not if. So to the next one, Shalom.
48 hours ago, a Trump advisor walked into a room, looked at the situation in the Middle East, and said out loud what almost nobody in Washington was willing